listening to LOA Recon with the Good Vibe coach Jeanette Ma, where we dissect the ins and outs and the art and science of conscious creation, all intended to amp up your manifesting game. Let's have some fun together. Okay, I don't know if you know the balancing act this is sometimes to get a quiet environment here. I'm not going to say how many animals I have because I am probably not in legal compliance. It's a pretty safe bet. But yeah, okay, so I think I got dogs and cats all where everyone's going to be peaceful for a while. But I will make this a quick recording because Molly's outside and she doesn't like to be outside for very long by herself. Okay, what to do when you don't know what to do? I get hired a lot for this question. I don't want to get hired for this question anymore. I love coaching. I love playing with co-creators on helping them manifest their favorite dreams. But this topic, it's so easy. You don't need a coach for it. Here's what you do. When you don't know what to do, and this happens in a lot of areas in life. Sometimes we don't know whether we should invest the money in the business or not, or we don't know whether to continue this relationship or not, or whether to follow the doctor's advice or to take the job or to move across the country. We're looking at some options and we don't have clarity. And a lot of people would like some help making that decision from an LOA savvy person who knows the role of energy in the world. But no one else can help you make this decision. And here's why. Okay, first I'm going to tell you how to make the decision, and then you'll know why no one else can help you with this. Okay, before I tell you the trick I use to get clarity when you don't know what to do, I'm going to say this. We've all heard the rule of thumb before, that if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. That is not a bad way to go. That is an approach to life that will probably serve you very well. It takes some guts to live it, but boy, if you've got the courage to only do whatever feels fabulous, that's really, really cool. So there's an easy answer right there. But here's what I like even more than that. Because sometimes we aren't always lined up with success. Sometimes we're kind of pointed on what we don't want. I spoke too soon. Elvis is on the move, on the desk. If you hear a crash, it's because my blind cat, he's not used to this setup for recording. Okay. You remember Tony Robbins' story about how when he went to race car driving school, the day they were learning how to control a skid, they were in the classroom and the instructor was talking about how it's everyone's natural reaction to look at the wall when the car starts to skid. And the instructor said, whatever you do not look at the wall because the car will go wherever you are focused. And Tony laughed him off and said, I got it. I actually teach this to people for a living. I'm a life coach. And so they went out onto the track for real life practice, and he's in the car with his instructor. And when he's not expecting it, the instructor initiates the skid, and Tony is like a deer in the headlights staring straight at the wall. He could not take his eyes off of it. He said, it's like I needed to see the death happen. And his instructor had to reach over and physically turn his head to look at the track. Okay, that's what we're doing. That's what we're practicing here. This is what Abraham says when they say alignment and then. We're practicing the alignment here. We're getting pointed towards where we want to go. So when we don't know what to do, the first thing we want to do is practice the feeling of our happy ending, of what it feels like to have what we want, even if we don't know the details of that, even if we only know general feelings like happiness or freedom or peace or relief. If we just know how we want to feel and we practice that feeling, that's how we get aligned. That's how we get our eyes on the track instead of the wall. And with that vibration flowing, our choice becomes clear. It becomes clear because before, when we didn't know, we were in the vibration of wondering or doubting or confusion or maybe even worry that we were going to choose the wrong thing. That vibration doesn't take us where we want to go. That's like looking at the wall. So when we purposely plug into the results that we want, that's how we're looking at the track. That's how we get aligned to what we want. And that's how our path becomes clear. It will light up like a neon sign. It'll be so obvious you can't miss it. It'll be the very same choices you were looking at the day before, but all of a sudden, now you know. We know when we're aligned. And if you get lined up and you're looking at your choices and there isn't one that jumps out at you, then that means it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Maybe something better will come along, or it doesn't even matter which one you pick. Because when we're aligned, the path becomes clear. When we're listening to that inner guidance, not to everyone else who's, making up a pro and con list for us, but to our own inner guidance. That's why a coach can never tell you what your best choice is. You're the only one who can know, because your inner being knows the best way to get to where you want. Not that the rest of the world won't have strong opinions, including me. I probably think I know. But your only reliable input is from your true self. And the way you tap that information is by practicing the vibration of what you want. That's how you will hear that input better. You can't hear it very well when you're in doubt, or when you're wavering, or when you're frustrated. That's usually what I am. I use this technique a lot in relationships. Okay, that makes it sound like I have a lot of relationship challenges, but I'm more often to question what to do in relationship than in other areas where alignment comes more naturally to me. It comes more naturally to me in other areas. Relationships, that's when I got to really get deliberate about practicing the feeling of what I want. So years ago, I was in a relationship and I wondered, I was like, wow, should I still be investing in this, or has it hit its expiration date? And I was trying to figure out the answer my own self, from my physical mind, as Bashar would call it, instead of my higher mind. And when I realized I was trying to figure it out from, in the Muggle way, I realized, and you know what? If I thought I would have come up with an answer, I probably would have gone with that. But it works so much better when we come at it from alignment. So that's what I did. I practiced feeling what I wanted. I practiced the feeling of being in a happy, rewarding, fulfilling, healthy relationship. The way I know that feeling is through my imagination. Did I say that with too much emphaticness? Sometimes we won't know how what we want feels because we've never experienced it, but that's what our imagination is for. Or maybe you know someone else who has lived it and you could just kind of see what it seems like to be for them. But really and truly, you don't have to have lived it in order to imagine what it feels like. And that's what we're doing, getting our attention on the track. You imagine what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. You just plug into your happy ending or your happy outcome, whatever that feels like for you. And from that place, then you look at your options again, and it will, sometimes it isn't so instantly clear. Like when I did this years ago, I just practiced the feeling of happy relationship because I'd been in, I don't know about this relationship. That was my vibration. So when I plugged into happy, rewarding, like this is it relationship, that was a very different vibration than what I'd been living. And then I just let it go. I just trusted that the answer would come to me. I didn't go back down to the pen and paper and look at my options again. I just let it go. I trusted the answer would come. And sure enough, in very short order, like within 48 hours, something happened that made it very clear. That happened again to me recently as well. That's not the first time I've had that experience, or the only time. It was the first time. But having that ability to practice having what you want, you give yourself the pre-experience of it. This is what we're talking about with alignment. You just get to practice living it first. So you're in vibrational alignment to it. From that place, things will become obvious, sometimes instantly, sometimes it'll unfold over hours or days. But one way or another, your inner being will point you in the direction that serves you to get to that happy ending. I did this when I was house hunting, when there would be a house that I thought I wanted, but it wasn't coming together. There were obstacles in place, and I would be asking myself, is this just what it is to buy a house? Is it just kind of like a challenging process that I just have to get over and power through? Or is this a sign this isn't my house? I didn't know. But here's how I knew. I practiced the feeling of loving where I live. I practiced feeling like everyone's thriving here. Me and my animals, we all love it. That this is a dream come true. It's even better than I hoped. I practiced that feeling, and then I look at my options, and anything that doesn't feel like it's pulling me, like it's calling me strongly, like it's a strong yes, then it's a no. It was pretty clear. I will say sometimes I have trouble with this when it comes to my animals and their health because I can get a little attached and fearful around that. So sometimes I just outsource it. I just say, angels, you're going to have to give me a sign or help me know. You're going to have to just make this clear to me because sometimes tuning into success is hard for me when they're really, really sick and it doesn't look good. And I really want them to be well. Sometimes that's a little challenging for me to make peace with those outcomes, but I just call on higher power. And I'm like, I need an intervention. Someone's going to have to let me know what to do here. And you know what? It works. So I don't say this because I never want to have this discussion with a client again, but this is it. When you practice this, you won't ever wonder again about what to do. Hope you found something valuable here. Thank you for listening and happy manifesting.